What's up, Christ Centered Mental Health community? This is me, David Lee Sarche, representing Christ Centered Mental Health, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in Jesus' name to the glory of God the Father by the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm coming to you right now. This is gonna be part 4 of my video series about my personal testimony. For those of you that don't want to watch my personal testimony in parts, feel free. You can watch the long version. It's over an hour long. Like you can watch the long version of it. Um, like if you want to, but if you like watching this in parts, then I then go ahead and watch this in parts. So there's gonna be I actually in this version of the testimony where I split it up in parts, there's actually stuff that I added to my testimony that isn't in the longer version. So I just want to put that out there. Um, yeah. Also, yeah. I just want to let you guys know, I have a special announcement at the end of this video, so please stick it through all the way to the end of the video so you can hear my special announcement. Um, yeah. So let's get started. This, like I said, is gonna be part 4 of my personal testimony. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I suggest you watch the other videos in this series first before you watch this video, because there's gonna be context to this that is missing if you don't watch the other videos in the series. So I suggest you watch those first. All right, so part 4. This part starts off like, okay. So after I got out of Southern Peaks Regional Treatment Center, they didn't want to just send me out on the street because I was institutionalized for so long that they wanted to slowly reintegrate me back into society. So they put me in a group home in Kansas City, Colorado, called Stepping Stone Group Home. And I was 19 years old, and like they put me in this group home, and they told me I was required to get a job, save up $1,500, and get my GED. Like that was all that was required of me. And then I'll get my first apartment. So I remember when I first showed up at the group home. Like again, like this was my during when I was very anti-Christian. Like I hated Christians and I hated God, and yeah, I was very hateful towards Christians. I remember they Miss Lynette Shipley and another staff. I think my caseworker. I think it was my caseworker. They dropped me off at the group home, and I remember the first thing I noticed was, because the group home used to be a church. So back in the day, so above the front door there was like a cross, an outline of a cross above the front door, and then across the street was another church with a huge cross in the front lawn. And it irked me. It really got on my nerves when I saw this. And like I remember Miss Lynette says, "See, when you belong to God, He'll do anything to get your attention." Like that was the last thing she said to me, and it stuck to me throughout all these years. And like I remember, like it really bothered me. Like every day I'd step out of that group home, I'd see the cross. Every day I'd go walk into the group home, I'd see the cross. Like God was really getting my attention at that during that time. Um, so yeah, it literally pained me every time I went in and out of the group home because I had to see the cross. I remember some of the guys found out that I was claiming to be bisexual in the group home, and they would pick on me about it, and that would just cause me to become even more angry, and I would take out my anger out on Christians even more. I remember there was a staff member there. His name was Rick, and he was very easily manipulable. Like I don't know. Like he was a staff member at the treatment center too, and then came to the group home. But I remember Rick had a Bible that he would always carry with him in his back pocket. And one day, like, I asked to see his Bible, and he pulled it out, and I held it in my hand, and something just came over me. I just like ripped up his Bible and spit on it and threw it in his face. And like it was like I don't know what caused me to do that, like why I did that, but I just had this like intense anger at the moment. And like when I was holding the Bible in my hand, I just ripped it up and spit in it and threw it in his face. And then I remember there was another incident where there was a kid who stayed in the group home for like a weekend, and I forgot what his name was, but he was mentally challenged. And me and this other kid named Trey, we talked this mentally challenged boy into snorting a line of bar soap. We told him that we would both give him $1 if he snorted a line of crushed up bar soap, and he did. We started laughing and everything, and then we told him we made an even bigger line of crushed up bar soap. And we told him we'd give him $2 each if he snorted that, and he did. And we started laughing even more, and then I had the bright idea to take him to the laundry room, and I made a big line of laundry detergent, and I told him if he snorted that whole line of laundry detergent, I would give him $5. And he snorted the whole line of laundry detergent, and I gave him the $5. And then, like, we were laughing because he was like choking, and yeah, and then, like we were cracking up. And like later on that day, he had like his eyes started turning red, and like the group home director found out about what we did, and like he started talking to me about it. And I remember that conversation. He he told like he was amazed. He was shocked that I felt absolutely no remorse about what I did. He couldn't believe it. Like I just didn't really care. Like he was like, "Don't you care? Well, you could have killed this kid." And I was just like, "Whatever." And like, yeah, I was so callous. And um, yeah, it was pretty bad. Like I to this day I think about that kid, and I feel deep remorse for what I did to him. Um, I remember. Okay, so there was this time when I was in the group. Okay, when I was in the whole time I was in the foster care agency or in the foster care system. I had what was called a guardian ad litem, which those of you who don't know what a guardian ad litem is, they're pretty much like attorneys for foster kids, and my guardian ad litem was a woman named Lee Hillhouse. And I had the utmost respect for her. Like she always had my back. She represented me fairly, and she was a wonderful person. Like I had a lot of respect for her. However, there was one time in the group home she did overstep her bounds, I think. And like I mean I understand. I mean at the so during this time I had this tendency. I was like, well, as you know, I was claiming to be bisexual, even though I never acted on those behaviors. Like, I never acted out sexually. Like, but I still was claiming to be bisexual because I had the bisexual attractions. And I remember during that time, I was painting my nails, I remember my GAL saw that, and she asked me if I thought I was transgender. And at the time I didn't know what that word meant, and I just told her I don't know, and she explained it to me, and like I didn't think I was, but that and she placed that thought in my head, and it caused me to think about it, and honestly I was too young to have that thought placed in my head. So that's why I say she overstepped her bounds in that situation. Like, she shouldn't have done that. But I mean, I understand why she asked that, but I still think it was wrong for her to ask that. Um, Also, there was this time, I would go to my GD classes with these two girls from the girls group home, because like the group home, the stepping stone group home, a boys group home, and a girls group home. And I would go to my GD classes with these two girls from the girls group home. Their names were Rita and Crystal, and we got along really well. We were like really good friends and everything. And I remember one day, we stepped out of the GD class to smoke a cigarette, and they wanted to go to this store down the street called Hilltop Market because they wanted to get some sugar for their group home, and I wanted to get something to eat because I was hungry, and so we decided to leave the GD class and go down to the Hilltop Market, and we walked in there, and I remember we were walking around. I was looking for something to eat, um, and I remember the whole time the workers were like staring at us and it was definitely strange. I mean, the only thing I could think of was they were staring at us because they saw an Asian guy, a black woman or a black girl, and a Mexican chick coming into the store. And Kansas City is a pretty old fashioned town. It's gotten a lot better over the years, but it's still pretty old fashioned. I mean, those of you that aren't aware, Kansas City at one time was considered the KKK capital of the United States. But that's a whole nother like topic for a whole nother time. But I remember people were the workers were staring at us, and we got what we wanted, and we were about to leave. The manager came out and stopped us, and said that he saw Crystal put some hairpins in her pocket, and she kept telling him that she doesn't have any hairpins, and it became this huge ordeal. And I remember he ended up calling the police, and Rita blew up on him about that, and it became this huge ordeal. And I remember the police showed up, and they singled me out, and they pulled me out of the store, looked my name up, and they saw that I was on probation. Well, at the time I was no longer on probation, but for some reason the system still said I was on probation, and they gave me this lecture about why I should be careful who I hang out with because I'm on probation and blah 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 blah. It was pretty ridiculous, and then they let us go, and we ended up going back to Hilltop Market where I found the group home staff, and they ever since then they ended up making me and the girls go to the GD class with supervision to make sure we didn't leave and we were on our best behavior. And then ever since that day, I had to sit right next to the GD teacher. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah. Anyways, so um, eventually I ended up saving the money that I needed, and I got my GED in 2007, and I moved into my first apartment. It was a disabled income based apartment. I really liked that apartment, and I was assigned an independent living worker. It was part of a program called Chafee. It was called Chafee Independent Living, and I was assigned a worker named Mike, and we would meet once a week, and he would teach me independent living skills like how to budget money, how to grocery shop, and simple stuff like that. And I really enjoyed the time I spent with him. I liked him a lot. He was a good worker, and he taught me a lot of skills I did appreciate the stuff that he taught me. Um, I wish I would have shared the gospel with him more though. But yeah. And during this time, I started talking to this girl named Christina, who I liked, and we started dating for a little while. And I remember her dad lived. I met her because her dad lived in the same apartment complex that I lived in, and me and her would meet up frequently, and we'd hang out. And I was working at this restaurant at the time called Pizza Madness as a dishwasher, prep cook, and busser. But also at the same time, I wanted to help him out because he had he was a paper boy, and he had 5 routes. So I offered to take 2 of the routes off of him, and yeah. So I also became a paper boy for the Daily Record, and one day I was so stressed out coming into Pizza Madness because the night before I was working the dishwashing job. I didn't get home till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I had to do the paper route right away, and then I didn't get that much sleep that night. So when I came in the next morning, um, I remember the manager came up. One of the managers came up to me, and started yelling at me about some stuff and I flipped out on him and like quit my job and stormed out. I was thinking I'd be able to get another job right away because I had so much experience as a dishwasher. Little did I know it was not like that. It was difficult for me to find another job. So I ended up going back to Pizza Madness and humbling myself and talking to the owner. And she gave me my job back. And she said that she wished I would have like talked to her sooner. But yeah, she gave me my job back, and I quit the Daily Record too. Um, and I mean, but by then, I mean, I already owed so much money for rent that I ended up getting an eviction notice. But that I'm getting ahead of myself now. Anyway, so there was this day, me and Christina were hanging out on the front porch of the apartment, and some Mormons came up to me, and they started talking to me about the Bible and stuff, and I wasn't really too interested in hearing what they had to say. But it did. I mean, what they were saying did kind of intrigue me. And I remember one of the ladies down the hall from me left a Bible in front of my apartment. And so I picked up and started reading it, but I had the sole intention of reading it so I could try and disprove the Mormons. And, like, yeah, I started reading it, and, like, I don't know, just, like, the stuff I was reading just started to make sense to me. It started clicking in my mind, and, like, it started to resonate with me. And I ended up giving my life over to Christ. It was part of me was being genuine when I gave my life to Christ at this time. But another part of me, I was doing it because I was trying to save myself. Because, like I said, I had an eviction notice, and I was thinking if I gave my life to Christ, that God would not only save me spiritually, but God would also save me physically and keep me from being evicted. Um, uh, Obviously, He didn't keep me from being evicted. I ended up going to a homeless shelter in the Colorado Springs for teens called Urban Peak. But I mean, I remember before that I got saved. Um, I remember I went to this Christian bookstore to ask the owner. I told her that I wanted to get a Bible, but I didn't have any money. But I told her she gave me a Bible for free, I would repay her. But then she told me about a church called the Vineyard, and she said they give out free Bibles. So I found the Vineyard. I visited the Vineyard. I remember that first Sunday I visited the Vineyard. Like, they had 4 services, and I thought there were 4 different services. So I went to all 4 services. So I was in church all day that day, and then I realized that it was the same sermon in all 4 services. So yeah, so I ended up picking a service, and I just stuck with that. But yeah, like I also got plugged in to like a home Bible study, and I made some really good relationships with some really good people who I'm still in contact with to this very day. And some of those people, like there's Marv Adamo. He's like he actually became like a surrogate father to me, or not a surrogate father. He became like a father figure to me. Like I got called. I say he's the Apostle Paul to me, and I'm Timothy. Like he really took me under his wing and discipled me and taught me a lot. He still teaches me to this day, and I have a lot of respect for him. Um, there's then there was a guy named Steve Roman. He's been really cool with me. Actually, he introduced me to Lecrae, who's a Christian rapper. Well, Lecrae is no longer. I don't know what's going on with Lecrae, but he introduced me to Lecrae because I used to like defend rap music to everyone, and he told me, well, if you're gonna listen to rap music anyways, you might as well listen to something with a more positive message. So he introduced me to Lecrae, and I became obsessed with Lecrae since that day. And then there's also Jim Bluetack, and he's been a really good friend to me too. Um, yeah, all 3 of those guys have been very good godly influences in my life. And this just goes to show you that God can use any circumstance to draw you to himself. Like, I mean, God used the Mormons to draw me to himself. God used my eviction to draw me to himself. God used these godly men from a charismatic. Well, Jim Lutak wasn't from the Vineyard; he was from the Home Bible Study. But God used these godly men to really influence me and shape the person that I am today. Um, I remember there was one instance at the Vineyard. There was a sermon on Mother's Day. It was a pro-life sermon that Pastor Corey Sondrel preached. It was a very powerful pro-life sermon, and it really impacted me a lot. Like before then, I never really thought of the issue of abortion. Like, but when I heard this sermon, it changed my mindset completely. And I remember Pastor Corey showed a picture of a ultrasound, and like there was, you can clearly see there was a baby, and there was a child in the congregation who said, "Look, mommy, it's a baby," and Pastor Corey started tearing up. He said, that we have? Why is it that this little child can see that this is a baby, but we have people in academia and science, and not scientists, but we have people in academia who can't even tell that this is a baby. And like I remember that made such a profound impact on my life. I became strongly pro-life, and to this day I'm very strongly pro-life. I ended up but at that time I ended up volunteering at the Kansas City Pregnancy Center for 2 years. From like I think I don't remember what years, but it was. But yeah, like I volunteered at the Kansas City Pregnancy Center for 2 years. I was the only guy working there, and but I worked hard. I really enjoyed going. I went there once a week, and I really enjoyed the work I did there. I enjoyed interacting with the other people there. I had a really good time there. I have a lot of fond memories of that place, and it was really nice. Um, I remember like eventually I got into Christian apologetics, which is, those of you that don't know what apologetics is, it's pretty much it's learning how to defend the faith. Like it comes from the Greek word apologia, which comes from I think it's like First Peter 3:15, where it says sanctify the Lord in your heart. And it says be ready always to give an answer to those who ask you for the hope that's within you. And the word answer in that scripture, it comes from the Greek word apologia, which means a defense. So apologetics is the defense of the faith, and it's just pretty much teaching you how to answer objections from unbelievers or people of other faiths. Like yeah, so I got into apologetics, and I met this girl named Nuri. Um, on Facebook, and on Facebook, it was a Facebook AMBW group. And those of you that aren't familiar with AMBW, it stands for Asian Men, Black Women. So I was in this AMBW group on Facebook, and I met this girl named Nuri, and we started talking. We even actually started dating, and she was from Las Vegas, so it was a long distance relationship. Not really too long distance because I was in Colorado at the time, but she introduced me to Calvinism and like the doctrines of grace, as I like to call them. I remember I used to argue with. I accepted 4 out of 5 points of Calvinism. I couldn't accept perseverance of the saints because that sounded like once saved, always saved. And at the time, I was really against once saved, always saved. And so I'd argue adamantly about that with her. And I eventually learned to accept that, and I became a 5 point Calvinist. And then I entered in what was called the cage phase, what Reformed Christians call the cage phase, which is when someone gets introduced to Reformed theology, they have to be put in a cage so they calm down because they get angry, and they start lashing out at their friends and family members because they're like, "Why didn't you teach me about this?" And that's what I was. I was in the cage phase, and yeah, like I was lashing out at my sister, Marv, a lot of people, Um, and like, but yeah, like I was in the cage phase, and then, oh, what was it? And then around this time, like, I, I had an experience shortly after I became reformed. Well, I was back in college, and like I was back in social work classes, and I got really inundated with with the social justice mindset, and I became an SJW, and I was like a really big raging SJW. Like I hated white people. I was like always I was on YouTube always talk about how white people have white privilege and they oppress minorities, and a lot of the people who are subscribed to my channel now are still were subscribed to me from back when I was at SJW, and like like yeah but God eventually brought me out of that SJW mindset, thank God, and it was due largely in part to like people like my friend Vape Time or Joe, people like Atheism is Unstoppable, people like Steven Crowder and the Hodge twins, Jesse Lee Peterson, and some black guy, and like like people like that. Like they brought me, and like I saw a documentary called Runaway Slave that documented the true history of the Democratic Party, how the Democratic Party is a party of racism and slavery and stuff, and the KKK. Like, if you haven't seen Runaway Slave, I suggest you check it out. It's very eye opening. But eventually, I was diagnosed with, um, well, I ended up getting my mom and bringing her out to Ohio with me, and because I needed my sister's help taking care of my mom, and um, yeah, so I brought her out to Ohio, and I was eventually diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Well, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder bipolar type, which is pretty much schizophrenia with a mood disorder. And I was put on risperidone, lithium, and Seroquel. And it stabled me, but it gave me a flat affect, and that wasn't good. Um, Now I'm just on risperidone, and I'm clear thinking, and my hallucinations and delusions and moods are stable now. Like it's kind of funny because it took me almost dying to get to this point. Like I ended up like last year I had a perforated colon, and I almost died. I spent over 80 days in the hospital, lost my ability to walk for a little while, and like um yeah. But ever since then, like I lost weight, I quit smoking, and I ended up like I'm only on risperidone now. My mind is more clear thinking, and like I'm I'm more stable. Like it's been like God really pulled through for me. Like the scripture that says that God works all things for the good of those who love Him. Like it's a true. I am a living testament to that. Um, I also I also got married to the love of my life, and she's my confidant. Her name is Deja. We got married on July 24th, 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, actually. And it's funny because we met each other because, well, she knew about me from back when I was at SJW because this big anti SJW YouTuber named Bering made two videos about me where he was making fun of me, and like she was laughing at me at the time, but then like later on, like she ended up joining some AMBW groups on Facebook because she wanted to write a story about AMBW, and was going through the members to see what kind of people were in the group, and she saw that I was in a group that she was in called Reform Bars, which is a Christian hip hop group, a Reformed Christian hip hop group, and she got excited. She added me. She just wanted to be friends. And then she realized that I was Asian Dave. That was my name back when I was at SJW. And she messaged me, and we started talking. I told her I was no longer SJW, and one thing led to another, and we fell in love. The Lord led us together, and yeah. So I'm gonna post a link to our ceremony, our wedding ceremony, in the description box below, so you guys can check that out and watch that for yourself. Like, it was a small ceremony inside of a chapel, but it was nice. I liked it, she liked it, and yeah. Um. Also, when I was in the hospital, my mom passed away. Like, oh, I still struggle with the sadness about that, but I know my mom is with the Lord, and I'm at peace with her passing. Um, I'm also like, God has really matured me through all this, and He's really kept His hand on my life and built me up, and like just like I'm not the same person I was before. I'm more mature. I strive to live more of a godly life now, and like this is why, because of my experiences, like I have a heart to see the mentally ill get saved. Like this is why I started my ministry, my Christ Centered Mental Health Ministry, because I wanted to reach the mentally ill with the gospel of Jesus Christ, because I really strongly feel like secular psychology is insufficient in truly helping the mentally ill, because they don't tell people about Jesus, who is the only source of real hope. And so my ministry aims to bring the gospel to the mentally ill. It also aims to educate the church on mental health issues, because so many people in the church are so ignorant when it comes to mental health issues. And so I have a heart to do that. Like, I really do. And I just want to tell people about the gospel, and I want to educate the church about mental health issues. And that's what drives me every morning. Um, like, um, I no longer struggle with the bisexual attractions. Like, I don't really struggle with lust at all. Ever since I've been married, I don't really struggle with lust anymore. But I definitely don't have the bisexual attraction. I haven't had the bisexual attraction since I've been saved. Um, like, and I no longer struggle with feelings of abandonment and like loneliness anymore. Like I used to struggle with that, but God has really healed my pain. Like I don't feel loneliness or feelings of abandonment anymore. God, like I know that God is my Father. He's the Father to the fatherless. He's the Father to the orphans. God has guided me. God has been my Father, and He has really kept His hand on my life. And I can tell that He has led me down the right. He has been leading me all my life, and He has been guiding me. He has been like just he has been my anchor. He's been the anchor to my soul, and he's kept me in the palm of His hand, even when I've been unfaithful to Him. And I'm so thankful to God. I look forward to what the Lord has planned for me in the future. Alright, so that's all. Like, I know this video was longer, but I just wanted, I hope, if you stuck it through and watched this entire video, I really do appreciate it. I thank you for sticking it through. I hope that this testimony edified you, and I hope that it glorified God. Um, like, um, I will mention, I did have another manic episode earlier. I forgot to mention this before, but I had a manic episode. The only other manic episode I had was when, I thought it was biblically prophesied for me to assassinate Donald Trump. But other than that, I haven't really had any full blown manic episodes. I had many hypomanic episodes, but not really any full blown manic episodes. Monday I'll do a video where I talk about the difference between hypomania and mania. Alright, anyways, so the special announcement that I wanted to let you guys know about is, well, as you know, this ministry has a Patreon account. So if you feel led by the Lord to give to this ministry, you can give any amount, and it'll give you exclusive content to the Patreon, which would include an online peer support Discord community. It will also give you exclusive content, daily devotional on faith and mental illness. But the special announcement that I wanted to make is someone from my church is trying to adopt a child. Her and her husband are. And so they're working to raise the funds to be able to adopt this child. And I would like to help them out to adopt this child. So when you donate to the ministry, a portion of the proceeds will go towards this family to help them raise the funds to adopt the child. So I would really appreciate it if you checked out the Patreon account and helped me to help out this family. All right. As always, please check out the Christ Center Mental Health Facebook group. Check out the Christ Center Mental Health Facebook page. Check out my Twitter, Tumblr, and check out my Defending the Faith Apologetics blog. Alright, the links to all this will be in the description box below, so you can check them out. And as always, have a good day, stay blessed, and stay strong in the Lord. Alright, bye.